to another interview for the Millionairess Magazine and the Millionairess Movement. I'm Amanda Jane Clarkson, Editor-in-Chief, and today I am delighted to be joined by the lovely and very savvy entrepreneur, Amanda Boleyn. Amanda spent 2 years in corporate America before becoming a full-time freelancer, turned into a full-time business owner. She turned her hobby into a full-time business. She is the creator of the She Did It Her Way podcast. That is a collective of interviews with top female entrepreneurs from across the country who have done it their way. These women are disruptors, they're savvy, they're courageous, they're badasses, they're confident, innovative,
yes,
and decisive, unconventional, and humble. The women featured on her podcast have proven business models and have taken risks and have failed only to have success follow. I know how that feels. They share their stories, their behaviors, habits, mindset, thought processes, business models, and what it is like to be a woman who means business. Amanda has also grown a business that coaches women who are starting businesses and who left their corporate job to pursue their business full time. Wow, what a great introduction. Yeah. Welcome, Amanda.
Hey, happy to be here. Such a great name, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least we won't forget each other's name, right?
Right.
And the Millionairess Magazine. Wow, you are a perfect match for the Millionairess Magazine. So, Amanda, tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show, and hello to the audience. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be able to step in front of another one's audience. And I know I don't take it lightly when I bring on guests, so I really appreciate that. Do we have 10 hours? Because then I can go into my whole entire story. No,
darling, as long as you want. It's only 8 o'clock in the morning here. I've got nowhere to be.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, that is true. So let's see. We'll start. When I graduated college, I worked 2 years in corporate, and then I left corporate, made my ultimate leap in 2012, and became a full-time freelancer. And what that looked like is I subcontracted on a myriad of projects, from leadership development, marketing and sales, and employee engagement. And it was in 2015 that I launched the podcast, She Did It Her Way. And we had a lot of traction in the first year. And we were new, and it was still early before podcasts were a thing. And for the first 2 years, I really ran it as a hobby, and it was totally the side hobby. Didn't really think of it as a business. And about 2017, that was really the moment at the end of that year that I had launched our first ever in our annual event, She Did It Her Way Summit in October, as a way to kind of test the waters to see, okay, what's really here? What do people like? And within 3 months, I had 35 women traveling from 11 different states, and for one day event in October. And that was the moment, one day event in October in Chicago. And that was the moment that I realized that there was something there. And since then, it has been a roller coaster of adventures, as I'm sure you know, in your audience so well aware of it, of building a business. I mean, it's never just a straight line. It's, you go up and you're excited, and then you go down and you're like, what am I doing with my life? Can I really do this? And imposter syndrome kicks in, and then you have another high that goes higher than what it was before, and then you drop. And that was, there's so many learning moments from now being, I can't believe it's June of 2020. It's insane. From when back in 2017 that I'm happy to unpack, but that is at a high level the journey and how I got to where I am today. And now we specifically specialize in coaching women how to build their coaching business in our 12-month program called Coach Her Way Academy. And it's a full 360 hands-on. You get coaching, you have your own designated coach every month, and it's amazing. So I'm super excited.
Well, you sound like you absolutely love what you do. And as an entrepreneur, from my experience, I think it's critical to be authentically aligned with your business, because the lows are very low and the highs can be exhilarating. But, from your point of view, I don't believe it's sustainable unless you are aligned and you really do love what you're doing, but more importantly, love the people that you're serving. What would you say about that, Amanda?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And another thing that stood out in my mind when you were saying that is that you also have to learn to love, for the lack of a better word, the game of being a business owner and the entrepreneurship, right? And you have to, for so long at the beginning, when not as a subcontractor, but as I started to shift into building an online business, there were a lot of mental hurdles for me to work through because I wanted things to be perfect and aligned and clean. And that's not at all how business is. And you have to grow and work through doing the hard things. And it's just something that I share with people, that it's such a journey, and you have to also love the journey of being a business owner and really change, like make sure you have the right perspective on the high highs and the low lows, in addition to loving what it is that you're doing and how you're serving to your people.
It was really interesting what you just said then, coming from corporate. A lot of people come from a job, corporate, really career focused. Then they're in a job that they do day by day, and they often think, wow, I could make more money going out alone, not realizing what an entrepreneur gets into when they go into their own business.
Yes.
Women thinking about going to their own business, or they're coming from a corporate background, what advice would you give them if they're considering quitting their 9 to 5, which I know you talk about a lot, and going on to, or stepping into that entrepreneurial roller coaster that we both know is the truth?
Yeah. And that's a really great question. I think if someone's listening and they're thinking about wanting to step in and build their own business, online coaching, whatever that might be, I really encourage students to take advantage of the fact that they have a full-time job. Because I think if you make the leap, if you make the decision to leave too soon and it's emotionally based decision, you may find yourself in a more of a like havoc situation down the line. If you make the leap and it's emotional and you haven't really figured out what it is that you want to do, you haven't really proven what business that you want to start, you haven't generated all like revenue. So I really, really encourage people to use their full-time job as this constraint in their schedule and really become a ninja with the way that you're spending your time, and build your business as best as you can while working full time until you're totally bottlenecked out. And in my case, when I left college, I studied finance and I had a certificate in entrepreneurship. I went and worked at Target in their stores as an executive team leader. And I was working close to 60, 65 hours every single week. And for me to have the energy and time and space to go out and really figure out what I wanted to do, it was really difficult. So I ended up getting what I encourage people to, if you find yourself in your full-time job and you're totally capped out and you have no margin, to look at I didn't come up with this term, I've heard it from somewhere and I can't remember where, but a bridge job. And your bridge job can help you create more margin in your schedule, meaning more time to really figure out what it is that you want to do. And if you already know what you want to do, it gives you more time to actually work on it and nurture it so that you can be in a position of confidence as much as possible when you make the ultimate leap, versus just quitting your job and diving in head first. And it's that, and again, I say that at the same time that everybody knows themselves, that you know yourself well enough that for some people, having their back against the wall really serves them. So they might say, okay, I only have 2 months to live on. That's going to be enough to motivate me to get my butt in gear. For others, it's also going to be, oh my gosh, that's paralyzing. I can't take any action. And then your mind is in one train of thought of, I need to generate money. And then the other train of thought is, what is my business? I don't even know what's going on. And you kind of become paralyzed. So it's part of knowing who you are and being aware of that. And then also being strategic to get yourself into a position where you're confident about making the leap and proving your business, and proving that it doesn't even matter if it's a $50 offer or a $1,000 offer, but knowing and learning as much as you can while you have a full-time job is what I highly recommend to all of my students.
Well, you shared a lot of
yeah.
gold there, Amanda. No, I'm taking it all in. I've got 65 questions already lined up from that one. For the women watching or listening to this, I hope you're taking notes. Get your journal out, ladies.
Yeah.
When I mentor, I often say to women, know who you are before you take that leap, because we're all different. I'm a real risk taker. Other women are not a risk taker, depending on your background, your upbringing, what type of work you've had, how many jobs you've had, or if you're a job person or a career person, which is two different things. I had 33 different jobs. I'm definitely not a career woman.
I read that. I was like, yes, this is, maybe it's the name or whatever, but I'm like, speaking my language.
You're probably thinking, what is wrong with that woman?
No, I'm like, oh, I see myself in her.
Born entrepreneur. Yeah. And so I would say to women, you've got to know yourself, because we have this saying inside Millionairess: your self-worth equals your net worth, and your net worth equals your life worth. And don't be too keen to jump out of what you're doing. And having said that, when you said a moment ago, you have that bandwidth or that metric that you've got that moment that you can start working on your side hustle or your business while you're in your job or career, what would be maybe one of the top 1 to 3 things you would suggest a career woman or someone who wants to take that leap of faith, what would they start working on at home?
Ooh, that is a really good question. And the way that what I would recommend them start working on at home, something as simple, well, I say simple, but it might not be simple, is knowing your personal finances and knowing your numbers, knowing what's coming in, what's going out from a personal level. And then that really understanding, okay, when I want to grow or start my business, how much money do I realistically need to replace my income? So that is one thing that anyone listening in can do right now, is really figure out how much money personally is going in and going out, and then deciding, okay, how much money from a good, better, best goal perspective, good being kind of the floor minimum of what you would need to make, and then the best being the top, what you would want to make. And then you have a middle of good, better, and then you've got better goals. So that's the one thing that I would do. The second thing is I would start either plugging yourself into Facebook groups or take a course on something that you want to learn. If you want to start a podcast, take a course on how to start a podcast. If you want to start a blog, take a course on how you want to start a blog. Investing in courses and coaches of people who have done that before you is super crucial. And I will be the first to admit that when I started out, I was this 26-year-old who thought I knew everything and thought I could do it. And I fumbled. And so I really and now today it's totally different, where if I know you're going to give me an exact outcome, I'll say, okay, great, I'll pay you $1,000. Like, you just you understand the value of your time. So first, understand your numbers and the finances. The 2 is really get clear on what it is that you want to learn and find a course that you can invest in. And then 3 would also be plugging yourself into a community, getting surrounded by people who are doing what you're already doing. Because oftentimes that I find is, especially women who are in corporate that are starting to even think about going out on their own, there are tons of limiting beliefs about what will my family say? What will my friends say? Can I really do this? And if you don't have the right support system to encourage you and to normalize entrepreneurship and taking the risk, it's going to be challenging. And so plugging yourself into a community is something that I would definitely recommend.
I want to dig into this quite a lot, because this is a really big thing for entrepreneurs. A lot of women do not feel worthy of the investment. And I look back into my youth. I'm in my 50s now, so I've been around for a while. Like you, I thought I could figure things out. And the more I tried to figure things out on my own, the more mistakes I made, the more failures I had, or perceived failures. And then what happened as a result of that, Amanda, my confidence was at an all-time low. I felt really inadequate, not smart enough. My friends and family were laughing at me constantly, saying I was crazy, that I didn't have the smarts to do it, because I failed everything at school except two subjects. I was out of home and school at 16. And I don't believe I'm alone, though. There are millions and millions of women who have been in my situation. And then I realized the moment I started to invest into a mentor and my self-education, and Jim Rohn says it beautifully, formal education will earn you a living, self-education can make you a fortune. And it was that one quote that literally turn my life around. And it seems to me, from what I'm picking up, that you had a similar experience until you started investing in yourself. So for the women listening to this, watching this, who don't even believe they need to invest in themselves or be around mentors, I think they've got time on their hands, what would you say to that woman from your hindsight?
Start somewhere. Don't think it needs to be this grand oasis. I got to get into this large group program, or I've got to sign up for something massive. I think starting small is super key. You can easily self-educate through podcasts or watching videos like this and absolutely learn a ton. I think the other thing that I would recommend, and that I tell anyone who is looking to invest in a coaching program or a course, is I think there's this rite of passage. And I would love your opinion on this and kind of your experience as well, is that when you're so new and you're just beginning the stages of investing in yourself, it's really easy to think that that course or that coaching program is going to be your ticket out of where you're at. And the truth is that I have found with coaching programs or courses is that it's never usually that one golden nugget that's going to just transform and take all my problems away. Because guess what? Whatever stage, if you're a 5-figure business owner, 6-figure, 7-figure, problems are still there. They just change. The problems change, right? And I think it's just important that if you're in the beginning stages, to go in with an open mind when you choose to invest in any sort of course. Start small. Start with a $200 to $300 product, right? You don't have to go full in for a $15,000 product. I mean, you certainly can, but building up that confidence in yourself and building up that muscle of investing in yourself is really important. And one of the things that you had shared earlier in your story that made me think about, like, if you imagine, have you ever driven a stick shift, Amanda?
Is that a car or a truck?
Yeah,
or
yeah, stick shift. with the wheels, the stick shift. Yes, okay. So a lot of times when we learn a new skill, there's we don't know what we don't know, and then you get into the driver's seat and you start shifting the gears and pushing in the clutch and letting go of the clutch and all of that. That's when the moment where you're consciously aware of what you don't know. And it takes time and it takes practice to get good at driving a stick shift flawlessly. Just like it takes time and practice of building a business or writing emails and doing marketing and all of that. It's really important that during that time of vulnerability, as we're learning, that one, going back to the community, but more importantly, that we give ourselves grace and we don't beat ourselves up for not knowing something that we've never known before, because it's really in that moment of learning and understanding and practicing is when we're the most vulnerable. And it's so important to be kind to ourselves. And that you see it in leadership all the time, that when you coach one of your team members and you're working on a skill, you have to be positive. You have to be encouraging versus discouraging, because otherwise that makes you kind of gun shy to want to, like, maybe not, I shouldn't, not gun shy, but it makes you shy to want to re-engage with that skill next time because you feel like you failed. So it's important that as you're learning something, to be kind and give yourself grace.
Yeah, I love what you're saying here, Amanda. And the great thing is this conversation is really invaluable for people listening, because you and I are at different ages. And so I have a little bit of hindsight as well. And I've gone through what you've gone through. It started with a book for me. I had no money. It started with a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm sure everyone's heard of it.
Yep.
Jim Rohn cassettes. Back in my day, darling, it was Tony Robbins cassettes in a cassette deck. Do you even know what a cassette is? It's a little tape.
Yes, I vaguely remember, yes.
A little tape.
And then you'd have to press the rewind button and try to figure out if you can get it on the right spot, and then you went too far and then you've got to go again. Yes. Vaguely, just a little bit.
That's exactly right. That's what it is. However, we believe that we have to have all the answers. And Robert Kiyosaki talks about it beautifully, saying that at school, we're taught not to put our hand up or ask for help or lean over and say, hey, Amanda, can you give me the answer to this question? I don't know. You're taught to figure things out ourselves, which sets us up as an entrepreneur to fail over and over again, because we're so frightened of asking, or we feel that it's a sign of weakness, when in fact it is a sign of intelligence to continually ask, band together with women like ourselves and on a global platform or into masterminds or into groups where you can learn. And you start that investment and you slowly build it up. Now, as I said, I'm in my 50s, but it started in my 20s. And between then and now, I've literally invested over $630,000, which is a lot of money. However, it wasn't always like that. But I have a budget every year. And this is what I would say to every entrepreneurial woman. And I'd love your view on this, Amanda. I have a budget and I call it my investment budget on myself, because it's kind of like a video game. When you work out and you become a master at a particular video game, it's natural to want to buy the next video game because it's a little harder and a little harder, and you keep growing up the scale. Well, that's an investment, isn't it? Into time, energy, resources, and becoming better and better. And I don't think business is any different. And I've learned, and I think you would know and agree, that the more you invest, as you grow, the more you can create, the more net worth you can create, but more importantly, the more people you can help if you're an entrepreneur, the more people you can serve.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm all about, I think investing in yourself is one of the best investments you can make. And you're never not going to get something out of any sort of investment you make when it comes to yourself. Maybe you might not move as far forward as what you thought, but to me, my belief system is, it doesn't matter if we're moving an inch or a mile. What matters is if we're moving forward, and making investments, or always making sure that you have a coach or that you're self-educating, whether it's through an online course, is so crucial, I believe, to ultimate success and growing as a business and as a human being. I'm right there with you.
And for the women who maybe come from corporate background or a safe job, and they're thinking, wow, I'd love to be like Amanda. And they're thinking, but I'm scared I'm going to make mistakes or lose my money. So they might invest into a course or a program or a business opportunity. We call it next shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've had so many of them.
Same. It's like a rite of passage.
Well, for those who are frightened of that, because they're more frightened of what other people are going to think and say, what would you say to that lady or that woman about perhaps they may fail in what they're taking on?
Yeah. I always like putting things in perspective. And one of my favorite quotes is by the late Wayne Dyer, that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's up to us to decide our perspective and the way that we look at it. And I know Tony Robbins talks about this, about, what pain's greater? Is the pain, would you rather the pain of investing in a $300 course and realizing that it isn't, valuable, or you didn't get any value out of it? Is that pain worse and more than the pain of just doing nothing? And I look at it as, you're starting at the base of a mountain. And as long as you take some sort of action forward, and knowing that course didn't work out for you and that wasn't necessarily what you wanted, well, now you know what you don't need or you don't want. Great. Now you have more information. Go figure out what you want. And so using that, and that doesn't mean, okay, just go in blindly and buy any course. I really look at, okay, asking myself, what is it that I need in this moment right now that helps take me to the next level? What do I need to educate myself right now? Let's say if it was, I want to start a YouTube channel, I would say, okay, great. Let me research YouTube courses and do some investigation, see what people have out there, and then make a decision, commit to it, and move all the way through the program. But I would definitely say, I would ask yourself, what's the greater pain? Is it being exactly where you are in 3 months, or is it investing in a course and having more clarity about what you want to do after the course?
Yeah, that's really great advice. And I have a saying that I would rather go to the end of my days knowing than die wondering what could have been possible, And
So
I
true.
have, for everyone out there listening to this, I've invested into so many books or programs or courses that I've realized weren't for me. But here's what I can honestly say. I've never invested in anything that I haven't learned a fabulous lesson from.
Exactly.
There's
always one lesson out of every course, every coaching program. You just have to look for it and find it. It's not always going to be like, here's the lesson. You've got to look for it.
I think, taking that first step and overcoming the fear of ignoring or probably not telling everybody your goals and your dreams, making sure you share them with the people who are in your fold, in your mastermind. What would you say about that, Amanda? Because I'm sure you've had a lot of experience with the women that you coach that have gone through those moments.
Is terms of, definitely the fear of what other people are going to say and what they may think. Some of it might be even thinking about posting on Instagram or social media, and it's what is someone going to think about me, right? But I always encourage them to come back to really understanding, does it matter what they think, and how is it that what they think is going to impact you? Like going back to the pain versus pleasure type thing, is what's most important in this moment? You stepping in to your voice and the impact that you can make in this world, or worrying about the thought that someone thinks something negative about you, because everybody's going to have their opinions. There's no one that's not going to judge you. And it's more about learning to be okay to be judged. And I've certainly had my own experience of wanting to have this perceived not lifestyle, that's not the right word, but wanting to perceive like everything's perfect and everything's good and it's under control, and really realizing that most importantly that doesn't serve me, because I was way more invested about what other people thought of me, and this is in high school and college, that I really personally had to learn to let go of it and be okay if people think that, oh, what she's doing is X, Y, and Z. To be honest, I don't even really think about it as much anymore because I just don't care. Like, it's their opinion of me is none of my business, essentially.
I love that. So, and even today in business, Amanda, so there are times where as a marketer and as a businesswoman, I know how things go. How do you overcome those moments? Do you surround yourself with your own mentors, your own mastermind groups? Because as an entrepreneur leading others along the pathway, we have our own moments of self-doubt, moments where we thought, shit, well, I thought that would be a different outcome. I know I have it every day. Hello.
Like, what am I doing again? Does this make sense? Is this okay? I mean, they're still there, no matter what level or ascending. Yeah, they're still there. For me, I have a couple different groups that I'm plugged into just as casual friends and colleagues who are in the online space, that we share a Voxer thread together. And if anyone's listening and they're not familiar with Voxer, it's an app that you can download, and it's kind of like walkie-talkie. It's really great.
I live on it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And my friends who aren't in the online space and they're in corporate America, they'll see me talking and they go, what is that? I go, oh, it's Voxer. It will change your life.
It's addictive. But it's addictive.
It really, my husband's like, can you just let go? And I'm like, no, I love Voxer. I need to be on it. Yeah.
He's like, turn it on silent. I can't.
Yeah. He's like, I hate being around you when you're on that thing, because you're just like talking into the abyss. And I'm like, well, I got to get back to people. This is how it works. And yeah, we're on Voxer Change, and someone's having a bad day or they're having imposter syndrome doubts. We share it with people and the community and the small group of people. And I think it's important to be plugged into a large community. It's also important to be plugged into a smaller community where you really feel that you have the trust of others and that you feel supported going through that as well. I mean, I think last week I Voxered a friend and said, I'm having these imposter syndromes that are like thoughts that I haven't had in over a year. I'm not sure where they're coming from, and sharing that. And she's like, oh my gosh, me too. So you create that connection with people and sharing that imposter syndrome. And the way that I work through it is reminding myself that the thought that causes the imposter syndrome doesn't mean it's true. By no means. I don't have to believe the thought. I don't need to. I can just let the thought be a thought, and I get to give it meaning as well. I could think the thought and then assume that it's right and agree with it and say, oh my gosh, this thought is so right. I shouldn't be where I'm at today. People shouldn't trust me, X, Y, and Z. Or I can go, okay, right. That's a thought. It's normal to have imposterous thoughts. It's probably because I'm doing really big things.
Amanda, for the ladies who don't know what imposter syndrome is, would you like?
Yes.
We all know as entrepreneurs, but what is it?
That would be anytime you doubt yourself. That's what I say. But here's the thing is that we have to remember too, and this is whether or not you're building a business, it could be that you're going to the next ladder, the corporate ascension in the ladder and climbing that ladder, is as you become a different version of yourself, as you begin to do something that you've never done before, you should have imposter syndrome because you've never done it. And so imposter syndrome doesn't mean stop. It just means that you're growing, and you can choose to look at that as a good thing. You can choose to make it mean anything. I know a really simple example is up until about a year ago, working from home would look like majority of the time yoga pants, workout clothes. It'd be cute workout clothes, but nonetheless, it would be loungy clothes. And I had been raised in a family where getting dressed or getting yourself together really wasn't a thing. And so I grew up in that environment, and I didn't really find clothes to be an expression, and I didn't really find the value of spending time to get ready every day. That was until I made the decision to say, okay, I'm going to get ready at least 4 out of 5 of the days in the work week. And at the beginning, it felt really imposterous. Like, who do I think I am? I'm putting on these nice clothes. I'm getting dressed. I'm putting shoes on. And it felt awkward. Now looking back, having done that for multiple days and multiple months, I don't even think about getting dressed. It's just natural and it happens. But there's always that transition moment when you are either up leveling, you are becoming a different version of yourself, you're changing careers, you're stepping up. So I always view imposter syndrome as a good thing because I believe, and I attach the meaning to it, that it's a sign of growth.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you've just said. And there's a couple of things I want to address in here. Talking about standards is what you're really talking about. As I say to women, how you show up in the world will relate to the income that you receive eventually, because your self-worth equals your net worth. And so I like to say, if you want to create a business, and I'd love your idea or thoughts on this, if you want to create a business where you get gorgeously paid through soulful serving, then you need to show up as their leader. Because if you're in your tracky dacks and your slippers and you've got food stains on you and your hair's a little greasy, I think you perform a little different. I think you have different expectations. I think you treat yourself a little different, and the world views you as a little different. What would you say about that? Do you believe standards and showing up how you want to attract back is important as an entrepreneur?
Yes. And I 100% believe that, because as soon as I started getting ready every single day, my income went up. I can't tell you if it, what's that?
I said, that's pure gold. Write that down,
right.
ladies.
I literally, the week that I started dressing up was one of the best weeks that I've had in the business. And I said to my husband, I go, this is crazy. It's crazy, but it's also not crazy, because like you had shared, it's really about leveling up and holding standards, or whatever that looks like for whatever anyone wants to name it. It's really about, I think, identifying your future self. Yes. And who is she in 6 months? Who is she in 12 months? What is she wearing? How does she look put together? How does she behave? How does she show up? What does she feel on a regular basis? And identifying that. And for me, my future self was put together. She felt very polished. She felt very empowered. She felt all these things that were a direct result of, okay, well, to feel that looks like I need to get ready every day. And through the future self, identifying it, understanding who she is, how she behaves, and how she thinks, and then making those decisions to implement them today just accelerates the process of becoming your future self right now. And yeah, I am a 100%, and don't get me wrong, I'm not dressed up every single day. There's certainly days where, like on a Friday when it's lower video days and all of that, I might have a good workout and I do a little emails and stuff. But for the most part, getting dressed every day has drastically changed my business and my life.
Oh, yeah. And mine too. I always say to women, how you perceive yourself is how the world will perceive you.
Yep.
And it's not about, you don't have to get your full makeup on and a gown or anything, but from my experience or from my truth, you vibrate at a different level of how you feel, which is what you attract when you dress for success and you're in business mode, especially for anyone wanting to change direction and create a business. that is sustainable and profitable, then I think it starts from within. And where I want to go with this question and get your viewpoint on this, Amanda, is back to self-worth. So many women or people, and I'm talking to guys as well here, it doesn't really matter, who want to become an entrepreneur, start and scale a business where they get gorgeously paid for their products or services through their service. They believe that they just need the tactics and the strategies. Well, I call that 20%. How important do you believe is the 80%? Because success is an inside job. Every philosopher talks about it. I think we live it. What would you say to the person out there who goes, just give me the tactic and the strategy. I don't need that other stuff. It's too woo-woo.
Well, what do I say to that? You're missing out on a lot. Like, there's so much more. Tactics are important, taking those steps. And there's so much with even Napoleon Hill, the thoughts that you think create an emotion that drives an action that produces a result. Jim Fortin talks about it, and his whole shtick is transformation from the inside out. Because if we truly can get to the inside, and part of that majority, like being in our minds and understanding how to think a certain way, that's going to produce this ripple effect in our life. And it's, yes, mechanics are important. Understanding and coaching and training your mind for success is that 80%. And it is so important. And it is something that if you can't get your mindset right, like, think about it. Going back to the example, if someone is listening into this podcast or in the show, however they're consuming it, and they're worried about losing out on $300, if that thought, that worry is in their mind, it's going to cause uncertainty. So the feeling is not going to be expansive, but constrictive. And they're not going to take the next step to enroll in the course. And so they're might possibly be exactly where they are today in 90 days. That's why it's so important to do the work on the mind and to expand and understand so that you can grow, because everything that you're living now in your physical environment is a reflection to what's going on between your two ears. 100%.
Beautifully said. Yeah, beautifully said. And I always say you're worth it. You're worth the investment. And so you spend time each day, Amanda. How much time a week or a day do you put aside in your extremely busy schedule? And you're elevating your net worth and your life worth every day. I can see this. How much time and energy do you put into your self-worth or growing self, personal empowerment?
Yeah. Well, and really quick, I wanted to touch on the question about the being worth it, right? Being worth the investment.
Yeah.
Because we're all human, we don't have to do anything to be worthy of life. And we're already worthy. And I think a lot of women in particular, and I've had this experience where we feel like there's a deficit, where there's this gap that we have to prove ourselves, or we're not worthy to be in this group, or we're not worthy to have this opportunity, or who am I? Like, and it's also being really mindful. And Tony Robbins talks about this, that the questions you ask, the quality of questions you ask delivers the quality of your life. Because if you ask a really good question that creates focus of where you want to focus, where focus goes, energy flows and results will show. So being really mindful of questions that you ask yourself. Because if you say, well, who am I to think that I can create a business? Your answer is probably going to be the default of the negative. Well, you aren't worthy, right? Like gremlin in your mind. So know that just by being human, you are 100% already worthy. As far as my personal development, routine schedule looks like, it's usually a combination. I love to journal. That is one thing that really helps me. Yeah. It's very therapeutic. Yeah. It helps ground me. I lean towards following astrology. So really understanding the moon cycles. And I know people might be listening and going, what? Trust me, that was me 2 years ago. I'm like, wait, there's a moon cycle? I didn't even know that there's new moons and all that stuff. So that journaling, I actually, listening to podcasts, I listen to very few podcasts because I have found for myself that because there is a plethora of abundance of content and information, sometimes I can get overwhelmed. And hear a strategy and think I need to go do that. So I mainly stick to a few podcasts, and one of them being my coach's podcast. So I really stick to that. And then typically read before bed. And that's usually the routine that I follow. I go in and out, where some seasons I'm really into consuming the personal development, and some seasons I don't consume personal development because I'm leaving space to really implement and to experience what I just learned. So, but there's always something. I'm always wanting to learn and grow and plug into that. And I know it doesn't, morning routines and all that stuff, if you're just starting out, make it simple. Do something, journal for 5 minutes every morning. It doesn't have to be this hour-long, luxurious routine, right? It can be something as easy as 5 minutes of reflecting, or I love the 5-minute journal, which is a really great tool to reflect and give gratitude and be thankful for the things every morning and then night, which is, it's a fantastic tool.
Well, you can multitask. Women are beautiful at multitasking. If you're going for a walk or doing your morning routine exercise, plug the pods in. That's what I do. Get my hour of power or whatever. Like you said, 5 minutes is all it takes. I want to quickly touch on journaling. I think it has such a strong impact. Journaling and vision boards and things like that, and gratitude especially. Yeah. Would you like to share a little bit about the importance of gratitude and the impact and the effect it has in an entrepreneur's life, everybody's life, but we're talking about entrepreneurs right now.
I mean, for me specifically, I can speak that with gratitude first is always, it's always a great thing to give thanks and put yourself in that energetic state, because if you find yourself in this low vibing, energetic state of comparison, because I've certainly been there, of comparison, or thinking that you don't have enough money or that you don't have enough resources, all this stuff puts you at an energetic vibration, like a low vibration. And if you're vibing at that low vibration, it's really difficult to bring in abundant things because they vibe at different levels. And so if you're vibing down here, it's really difficult to get up here. One easy way to totally change that is go into gratitude. Remind yourself what you're grateful for. Be grateful for a bed. Be grateful for the internet, the tools that you use, the phone that you have, and bring that into awareness. Remind yourself how much abundance is in your life so that you're transforming your physical state. Because this is another thing Tony says, is that you have your physical state, and your physical state will create whatever story in your mind as a relation. So if you're feeling groggy and down as well, I encourage you, put in AirPods or earbud, whatever they are these days, I don't even know, and turn on music that feels good and get your body moving. The more, if you're just in a sluggish state, that will definitely translate into the thoughts that you think and how you behave. So yeah, but gratitude, giving, just journaling is so important.
So critically important. I love what you just said, because when you're just talking about your state, that it goes back to what we was talking about 10 minutes ago about standards. You wear your dressing gown around for the day, then you put on a nice dress or a nice outfit that makes you feel successful. You watch your body shift, your, shoulders go back, tummy tightens, head up, shoulders up, back, it really has an impact. And I think it is very important as an entrepreneur to recognize these little tiny shifts that over time can have an incredible impact, whether or not you're successful. Because would you have had this experience, Amanda, where two people have joined your coaching program, one gets incredible results and another person says, things aren't working out for me, understanding that it's got nothing to do with the business itself. Have you had that experience?
Yeah. And it's really what you were saying. It's the tiny actions. It's about being consistent.
Yeah.
If you have 30 minutes a day to work on your business, that is 30 minutes a day. It's 30 minutes more than 0 minutes, right? And there's a great book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And if you invest 30 minutes every day, it doesn't go wasted. It's all building on top of everything. Most people give up because we have this instant gratification society, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too, where we think that results need to happen overnight, that we think our business needs to be Amazon Prime to us. And the truth is that the people who are the most successful are the ones that keep putting one foot in front of the other and live out to make it work and to see it work. So I say when you're in that space, it's really about committing long-term and getting your mind on a date that's a year from now, not one that's 30 days from now, but a year from now. Because if you commit to short-term, it's very unlikely that you're going to see in the results that you want. But if you can commit a year and say, I'm going to go all in, I'm going to spend 30 minutes every single day on my business for an entire year, you're going to be in a dramatically different position and situation than you are today. And it's like weight loss, right? Or lifting weights and wanting to get lean. We're like, okay, I worked out, 7 days and think, where are my muscles? Well, it doesn't work that. We have to consistently work at it and show up. And it's those tiny habits every single day that really make the big difference. It's not the one injection type that all of a sudden you now have a business. It takes consistent action.
It's really good advice what you're sharing there. Such wisdom for such a young lady, because so many of us sit there and compare ourselves to the Amazon Prime world. I've been there, had an Amazon business, and we want instant gratification. I've been there, and we go, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with me? They're getting instant gratification. We want this success. How important is patience? That's what my mentor says to me. Amanda, you've got to learn patience. Yes, dear, I know.
You're like, okay, and I don't want to talk to you anymore. Leave, bye. I don't want to be patient. My friend and I, we always have a joke. We're like putting on our patient pants, like gearing up because like patient. Well, and that goes back to what you were saying with the mindset, learning to be patient, learning to be committed for the long term and not wavering when something doesn't immediately work out. And I have certainly been in the situation. I've had to learn and build that muscle of patience and long-term commitment because I had found myself tweaking and going all different routes because I was like, ooh, that's uncomfortable. It doesn't work. Ooh, that's uncomfortable. But that's really where the hard work is sticking with the commitment through the thick and thin and seeing it all the way through versus giving it like 30 days and saying it doesn't work. You had said one other thing that really stood out in my mind that I know happens a lot when people, the comparison piece. Oh my gosh, I used to like look at someone launching and they would have a $60,000 launch and I would think, oh my gosh, why am I not there yet? And all of these things would come flying in and out of my mind when the reality is that I don't know that person's business. I don't know that person's life experience. They could have been in a corporate job where they understood online marketing. So they set themselves up for success. Like we don't know. And it's just, to me now, it's not worth the time or energy to invest trying to figure that out. What's more important is for me to focus on myself, which also goes back to learning to put constraints in. If scrolling aimlessly through social media on Instagram is going to trigger you and get you into a tailspin, then put the constraint that you're not going to scroll on social media, delete the app from your phone, or only give yourself a certain amount of time because your focus and energy and attention is so important and you can't spend it. You can't allow it to be exposed to be derailed. It's too important.
It's really great what you just shared there. And we say, put your horse blinkers on. It is so easy because back when I was younger, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah. I'm writing that down, the horse ones. I like that.
The horse blinkers, because it is that, and keep your eye on the prize. And this is why I think the value in mentorship and having programs like you have to support people and keep them on the straight and narrow, because it just takes one person or one comment to pull you off track. And it is so easy to get pulled off track, Amanda. And I know that you probably would have had that experience. That's why I'm so big on mentors and masterminds. It's just so easy to get derailed, isn't it?
100%. It's real. It's so easy. You have to have that focus and the constraint and head down and not, it's also the passive massive action. It's very easy to be in passive action mode where you're consuming podcasts, you're reading books and thinking that you're doing something. I've certainly been there. I'm like, I'm doing something. I'm reading a book, right? But what really is going to get you to a place where you grow and you have a business you love and you get up every single day? It doesn't just happen overnight, and it doesn't happen by being passive. It happens by taking massive intentional action and taking action until you get the result that you want. And taking action is also a muscle, because the more action you take, the more risk you take. You exercise it just like you would in a gym. You grow, you start having capacity for risk. You start having less tolerance for any BS, or more like less tolerance for, energy sucks, or things that are going to suck out your energy, like scrolling on Instagram. And again, this isn't about trying to be perfect or anything, because I've certainly had those moments, but it's being aware enough to know when you begin to go down that path and stopping yourself and moving beyond it.
I have this saying that I get my people to type out: is what I am doing and being right now taking me a step closer or a step further away from the dream that I have or the life that I want? It is so easy. And just on that note, Amanda, do you do anything with vision boards, or do you believe in vision boards, or what is your take on a vision board?
I 100% believe in vision boards. I don't have an active vision board, but what I will say is that as part of the morning ritual, in some capacities, it's really important for me to journal out what I believe my 6-month vision is for my future self, or the 12-month vision for my future self, and play it over and over in my mind. A year ago, probably about a year and a half ago, I would say, my husband and I were living in an apartment in downtown Chicago, and I had a dream of always living in a certain part of River North downtown. And I would just sit and envision. And one day it was like, oh, are we going to move? Are we going to renew our lease? And we thought we were going to stay in the same place that we were currently living in. And then I thought, oh, I'll just go check out this apartment building in my favorite neighborhood. And everything just clicked. And it was like, this makes so much sense. Okay, we're moving. And it was one of the easiest decisions to make. It felt right. And I do believe in the power of manifestation and visioning, because your brain doesn't know the difference between reality or what is not reality. I mean, what is reality these days with being in COVID and stuff? But it's like your brain doesn't know the difference. And even doing the visualizing, that's also a muscle. So if you start doing it and you're like, this isn't working, it's not working. It's just, you're not used to it yet. And you have to practice it. Same thing with meditation, everything. It just is getting used to, like, okay, anytime I do something different in the beginning, it's going to be a little clunky. It's probably not going to feel good, but that's okay. In doing that, I totally believe in visioning and vision boards.
Oh, this is brilliant. I hope everyone is taking copious amounts of notes. And I like to write a future story, but within, like, I'm living it in the now.
Mm-hmm.
I carried around a scrapbook, so I'm really showing my age now, for 20 years of the dream home. And after 20 years, and we used to go to these open homes on the beachfront every weekend, and the realtor guy used to get the shits with us, going, what are you two doing here? You're broke, you've got no money, you're wasting my time. Like, it literally tell us how much time we were wasting. But we had this dream in our mind. And after 20 years, the home got built, manifested it. And I remember one of my friends walking in the front gate, and he had tears rolling down his eyes. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, it's like walking into that scrapbook that you've been carrying around for all those years. And I went, wow, it actually is. And it's a very American style of home. But I really believe in the power of exactly what you wrote, big on journaling, writing the story that you want to live, but in the now. And over time, taking, like you said, even half an hour a day towards that goal or that dream, it will in time become your reality. And I think it's so important for entrepreneurial women to have that belief and have that certainty that anything is possible. Would you agree with that, Amanda, that anything and everything is possible if you take those progressive steps towards it?
100%. And I think the story that you had shared about the scrapbook and for 20 years is that it's putting on the patient pants and learning that it's not going to happen overnight, but you can't lose faith about what that looks like in a few years, and still get emotionally excited because anything is possible. And it's taking those tiny micro action steps every single day and getting excited about it, because when you really fully understand that you are the writer and the producer and director of your own life, and that you get to plant the seeds and you get to create and be who you want to be. It's an incredible, freeing, amazing experience. And I say that fully. I know there's people that are probably listening thinking that they're in such a low state and a low, how would I describe it? I'm trying to, because it wasn't long ago, it was about 3 years ago that I was in such a very low vibrating place, and to the front, it seemed like everything was fine because I'm typically an optimistic person anyway. And so I could have a really crappy day, but I'd be like, no, it's great because I'm alive. But when you are so consumed with negativity and you get so sick of yourself, it is hard, like when you're there. But what I want to say is that if you are in that position, and even if you're not in that situation, is take those tiny steps every single day and commit to a time that is like a 6-month time frame, and give yourself that space and grace to really see that transformation. And don't give up on yourself, because you owe it to yourself and you deserve it. And it's just an incredible gift.
Oh, I so appreciate you sharing from the heart. I can really see that you truly share everything from the heart and soul. And, you know, one thing that women don't do very well, Amanda, and I no doubt you see this on a daily basis, we look at what we haven't achieved.
Yes.
We look at what we haven't done, and yet we forget to celebrate those little wins, even if it is, you know, working out something in your website, or bringing on a new customer, or, you know, just moving that one step closer towards your goal or your dream. How important, in your view, is it to celebrate those little moments, no matter, or how big they are or how small they are, it doesn't matter.
Well, if you can't celebrate the small moments, what makes you think you're going to be able to celebrate the big moments? And I, you know, Tony Robbins talks about this too, is that what makes you think that you're going to give 10% of your money away when you become a millionaire if you're not already practicing it when you make $100,000, right? Like, we can't discount, or we can't, because then we're perpetually waiting for that thing. We put a condition on us that we're not going to do something until a condition happens. Same thing of, I'll be happy when. That's another condition. You have to decide to be happy in the now. And therefore, when you don't have any conditions on when you can be happy, or when you can go to your, like, take action on your business, like, there's a whole other freedom that happens as well. So being mindful of the conditions and celebrating the small wins is going to get you emotionally excited and in a higher vibrating state that's just going to continue to attract more. So I say celebrate all the small wins you can.
I agree, because we spend too much time being hard on ourselves, beating ourselves up, not feeling good enough as women, constantly comparing ourselves. And so I really make a thing of it, saying, well, what did we achieve today? And what am I going to achieve tomorrow? I like to always plan my next day each night before I go to bed. So, Amanda, I've got one last question for you, gorgeous.
Yeah.
What would you specifically love to be known and remembered for?
Ooh, I would love to be known for as the person who inspired people, and women, but also people as well, to keep taking that little piece of action to get themselves unstuck and to just take action on their goals and their dreams. Yes.
Beautiful and profound. Yeah. And I can see from all the work that you're doing that that is your reality, and that you've helped and inspired thousands and thousands and thousands of people all over the world with the work that you do. And I am truly inspired by what you're doing. And again, at such a young age, full of so much wisdom. Wow, the internet's come a long way. If only we had that at your age. This might be a very different story, but it just is so heartwarming for me to see this and to share your story with the world. And I so appreciate you being part of the Millionairess Magazine and the Millionairess movement, because you're playing an integral role for passing the torch to others who want to be in your position. And so do you have any parting words for our listeners and our readers, Amanda, before we go today? Because it's been a very, very inspiring conversation, to say the least.
Yeah, no, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come on. And I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's been amazing. I would say the last thing that I would leave you guys with is when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And if you find yourself stuck, ask yourself, can I look at this in a different way to get myself unstuck? Because usually the reason why we don't take action is because of what we're thinking. So really getting that awareness and changing that perspective so that you can take action.
That's profound. I'm going to write that down myself. So can you say that one more time? So for those who missed that, can write it down quickly.
Yeah. So, and I can't take credit. It's a Wayne Dyer, but when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so if you find yourself mentally stuck or you find yourself not taking action, bring that awareness and ask yourself, how can I look at the situation differently? How can I think about it differently to create that action and that inspiration so that you can move forward?
Beautiful, truly heartwarming. Again, Amanda, thank you so much.
You.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation today. I get to do all the fun stuff, don't I?
Yeah, no, interviewing is great. You're amazing. And this was fantastic. And thank you so much. I really enjoyed my time and such good energy. You're such a great interviewer.
Our followers are going to love, love, love you. Of course, they'll be able to find you very easily. We've got media behind us and all sorts of things to get your story out globally. And, you know, I just know women are going to be so attracted to what you do and find your mentoring incredibly invaluable. So again, thank you. And who knows, when we get to travel again, we might get to Chicago to meet in person. I would love that.
I would love that too. I would love that. Hopefully we can start traveling soon. I'm getting the travel bug.
Have you been down here?
I've never been to Australia, but my husband and I went for our honeymoon. We went to New Zealand, and if it's anything like New Zealand, which I believe it is, it's fantastic and the people are amazing. So
it's really beautiful. It's nice and clean. We don't have many people down here. We've only got, say, 24 million or something like that. Not that many. You know, I love America. So, you know, I love to get over there and visit all you beautiful people as much as I can. But in the meantime, here we are on a global stage, gorgeous, elevating people along with us. So, Amanda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Robin will reach out for you and give you all the details. And of course, I know that our paths will cross again.
I hope so. Yes, they will.
So too. All right, beautiful. You enjoy your evening, and I can't wait till next time to see your gorgeous furniture.
Yes, we'll have that hopefully next time. Hopefully when I interview you, we'll have everything will be set up. So
of course, that's right. We are too.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So this won't be the last time.
I can't wait. All right, beautiful. You have a fabulous afternoon. And
thank you. All right.
We appreciate our time.
Bye, Amanda. See you. Thank you so much.